So it's pretty breezy out, so I'm not sure how this is going to come out. I'm procrastinating. I got a bunch of saw work to do and I don't feel like doing it right now. This year, since I don't have a lot of big fish in the pond, I'm going to go with smaller rods, ultralight, or close to ultralight. And I want to keep the price under $100. That's the goal. $25 maybe for that reel, the Shimano. And I got the rod for $19. It's one of those Shakespeare Micro Series. And I was over at Dick's, and this was on sale for like $19 or $20, the Shimano. And I kind of like it, so I grabbed it. Actually matches the reel better. I like the seat better than this kind of seat, you know, where you push from the front versus from the rear. These are the first and second purchases of the season, and this is the third. I need to get some gear more suited to North Carolina, fishing down there, and I've heard a lot of stuff about these Cast Kings, so I went off and got one. You know, it really has a lot of the same feel that some of the other brand name reels have. It's just Cast King versus a brand name. That handle has sort of a pen look and feel to it, doesn't it? But the reason I got it is because down there we do a lot of fishing with live bait, and I kind of like this bait runner type feature, where what happens is you have two drags effectively. You've got the standard drag like all spinning reels do up here in the spool, but you also have one back in the reel somewhat, where if you flip that lever, now the whole spool is free, and this adjuster back here adjusts how much tension is on that secondary drag system. So let's say you have your rod in a rod holder and a fish gets a hold of your bait and takes off, that thing will start taking off without pulling your rod away, give you a chance to get a hold of your rod and flip that lever, and now you're back on the main drag up here, no pun intended. I put Berkley Trilene 10-pound test on this reel, but you're not going to see this get much action until we get down to North Carolina. Oh, got one. That fish, little bass. There's my first fish of the year on ultralight. Nice little fish. See, every time I come here, it's a lesson in humility. If you look across the bay there, that's Belhaven, North Carolina. This is where the Pungo River dumps into the Sound. And if you look, you're going to see fish just jumping everywhere. And I haven't caught a damn one of them. But we're going to change our tactics. And as far as gear is concerned, I'm going to go back to what I learned in Homosassa, Florida from Salt Face Charters, because that's what worked last time. But I got this Daiwa rod. It's 9 foot long, eBay for like 20 something bucks. I don't know much about it other than the fact it casts like crazy. And I've got this Cast King reel that I got for like 50 bucks off of eBay. There you go. Look at those little things go. There's some shrimp. And the setup I've been using is these popper floats with leaders. And it's so shallow here. It's only like 18 to 20 inches normal. So I've got to make sure I got a short enough leader. Look at that out there. What is it? It's big, whatever it is. I don't know if this is on camera. Look at the swarm of minnows down there. Boy, I wonder if the camera will pick that up. It is amazing. There's 100 of them in there easily. Oh, you got a fish on. I'm going to put the camera here. And maybe we can see it come in. There we go. Here's our first little fish. This was on the raw shrimp, and it's a spotted drum. I like it. So bag of shrimp has been successful, power bait not. I don't know if this is going to pick up anything, but got a fish. What do we got? Damn catfish. What do we got? I don't want a freaking catfish. Alright. Get that thing out of his head. I think I'm going to go for a ride in my yacht. If you look up there in the field, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of like stripes. That's where I was most of the afternoon, mowing down that 20 acres. And then if you look between the trees, you'll see another 10-15 acres up there. So I think my reward is to go harass the fish in this little pond. Yeah, I got a nice one here. Nice sized bass. I'll let this just pick up some of the colors. They're so beautiful tonight. We had a great sunset. Another one. Nice little bass. See, they're aggressive over here. Boy, they're biting like crazy tonight. No little bass. Oh, got a bigger one this time. There's an actual fish right here. Boy, is he aggressive. Wow! Oh man, did he bite that hard. Man, they're aggressive. Man, he's aggressive. Out. Yeah, I'm gonna move to the middle of the pond. See if I can get a little bit bigger fish. Yeah, but the only thing that did work tonight is that stupid thing right there. Where the little solar lights I used to guide myself back in. Yeah, I need to finish this project right here. This is about fishing, not about boating. You know, this boat trailer right here we got for like $100, and I got another couple hundred into those tires. You know, they're pricey damn things. You know, I was surprised, but you know, it's one of those things where once you kind of get into it, probably would have been better off just to get a trailer complete. But here it is, and here we are. Put on new wires and lights. Mary did that. And I got this old 1962 Starcraft aluminum boat. Got that at an auction for like $150. So the only reason I'm saying the numbers is this, is normally boating is very expensive. And even when you try to do it on the cheap, it ends up being a little pricier than you plan. A lot of times it's just better off getting a, you know, a newer, better boat, you know. What I'm looking for is something where myself and I can get that boat on a trailer and bring it to a pond, get it into water, whether fishing with the Minn Kota or with the small 4-stroke outboard, just get to a place where I can cast for fish on the smaller ponds. But I had done a video, oh my God, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, about doing wheel bearings. So I'm not going to video that process. Oh, I didn't mention, it's actually a 3,500 pound axle. The trailer is way, way, way more capable than I'm going to need. And having the larger diameter tires, assuming I can get them straight on those hubs, of course that's a trick in of itself, that should safely be able to go down the road carrying my boat. So while I'm lamenting the fact that I'm going to have to put probably, you know, a couple hours, and dollar-wise it's going to be in the $300 range, fact of the matter is when it's done it's going to be quite capable for just, not just the boats, but for around the farm as well. So I'll quit belly aching about that. Now the second thing is, given the option, I would not use that kind of tire. And in some states I believe it's not legal, you know, unless it's original in the trailer. And there are hubs where you can swap out the hubs. And I kind of evaluated that, but actually the price of doing that was rather, you know, it was not just the hubs. You get the hubs, rims, and tires. I figured let me just use what I've got and, you know, go from there. Yeah, I went and got all new hardware for the bolts. The other ones were kind of rusty. Yeah, I could clean them up, but I'm going to run a tap through a lot of the tapped holes and just use new bolts. Do you need to do that? No, it's just what I do. I don't know if you see down in there, but there's this Minn Kota thing, which I know nothing about. I have no idea how that thing works. So we're going to figure that out. And then I have this Johnson 15 horse that actually runs pretty good. But I think what I want to do is rebuild it. I think that's in line with the channel. And that Johnson right there, once I get a different shaft and shift rod to make it a short shaft, 15 inch, it's going to go on that little boat. So that's where that's headed. This one here, the 115 Merc, and it's going to go on this boat. And this is a 16-foot Sea Ray, and we're going to have to tear the floor out and make this a project boat. So I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year, but I kind of wanted this configuration for a long time. I wanted the open bow because I want to tear the floor out and then put in a solid floor that I can actually walk around and get rid of the seats and make it more fishing friendly, even if it's not stock. I mean, there's no resale value in a boat like this. And while the floor is out, we're going to, you know, gussy up the stringers and things like that. But I've always wanted a 16-foot boat, you know, with the 115 Merc configuration, because it harkens back to when I was a kid when you had those 115 horse Mercs on little checkmates, you know. And yeah, this may be a little heavier, but it'll be spunky, you know. And with the floor laid out the way I want to do it, I think it'll be more fishing friendly, which is really the goal. And being just a 16-foot with an aluminum trailer, it's actually pretty light. I towed it up from Pennsylvania, and it towed easy. So it might be a handy little boat. That's the plan. And I just pulled the tarp back on the big Sea Ray. That's going to get yanked out next day or so and get fired up. It's really ready to go. We had that on the video for Lake of the Ozarks, and it ran beautifully. But I bought a new carburetor for it. I bought an ignition system for it. And I just want to go through. Its impeller is fresh. The bellows in the back are fresh. All that kind of stuff is all fresh. So the floor is solid, the transom is solid. I don't have to do anything to this thing except for make it run. you know, get out there and run the darn thing. Pure fishing. That's what that's about. And I think I hit my budget. I'll go back and add it up, but really I wanted to see if I can get in the water safely, legally, and without compromised parts, you know, fairly fresh and new parts for under $750, and I think I've been able to do that. So. Oh boy, what's the old man up to now? Trying to get the boat in the water, and I've been struggling with this one, and had to go on a couple of levels of analysis more than usual, but a couple things kind of screwed me up. First being, well, I don't know if you can see where the timing is, but actually the first being those voltage for the whole system was down around 4 volts. So I kind of had to wire a way around that because I didn't have enough voltage to run the ignition system actually. So look at that. That thing is up there around, let me think. Oh boy. 4, 8, well, 12 at least degrees advanced. That's too far. So I've got to retard the timing from. I have to retard the timing a little bit. That might be why it's hard to start. Second thing I have to do is to see whether or not those weights in that distributor are actually swinging out and changing the timing the way it's supposed to. But looking at that, I've got some things to worry about for let's get the timing right. I put a set of points in there and I set the gap at 18 thousandths. That's pretty far for the course. I had to replace the coil. That coil was dead. So anyway, let me loosen up the distributor and rotate it and see if I can't get this to run a little bit better. I think before we do speed trials, we better get it going. I'm looking forward to getting that thing on a boat. Took this motor here, bought it, and we did some testing on it. We tested the compression on each cylinder. It was 120 pounds apiece, which is quite a bit. The starter motor worked just fine, had plenty of spark in all 6 spark plugs. Yep, 6. And this is the old style Mercury. You know, they were kind of inefficient, but they made a lot of power for their day. And this is the 115. And I guess you could say that they made these up through, I think, about 150 horsepower. And it's the last of that design in that line, and they went to a loop charge type designs, which are familiar to you chainsaw guys, because that's all you work on, you know, the transfer ports and the top of the pistons being nice and flat, instead of having those deflector style pistons that those old 2-strokes have. And you know, emissions and just technology and other companies like Yamaha and Daihatsu coming onto the marketplace forced both the OMC companies, Johnson Evinrude and Mercury, into more efficient 2-stroke designs over time. But I like those old Mercs, you know. That's something I played with as a younger person. I've got a couple of them laying around, and I've acquired a period outboard for my small rowboat on Golden's Pond boat. You know, it's kind of an inside joke for me and my friends. And you know, because it's hobby, I'm not after commercial fishing, or I don't have any ego to scratch or nothing like that. This is one of those deals where you kind of retro back into the things that you like versus the things that may make the most sense. So, well, spent yesterday heading up to the Adirondacks and putting this through sea trials. You know, I probably should have spent the night. I had a lot of fun up there running this boat. It's old. This is like a 1962 Starcraft. And I've done a little bit of video on this in the past, but we're kind of building it into a fishing boat, fishing platform. It had that little 5-horse, 4-stroke Daihatsu, which is the same motor you can buy through Mercury and a couple other brands. And, you know, it moved it along, but I put that 200, which is a 20-horse Merc, on the back, and boy, went a little faster than I anticipated, basically because it was planing it out right about to there. And then when I went a little bit past 3/4 throttle towards full throttle, it would lift the whole boat completely out of the water. Everything would get all smooth, but then the wind would just take the boat and start blowing the front end around. You know, once it got all planed out, kind of made me nervous. So I backed it down. I didn't feel like barrel rolling in front of my friends. Where this boat's going to go is I'm going to replace that wood in the transom. And I'm also going to come up with something on the trailer here. I have some verticals to help guide the boat on those windy days. And the other thing I'd like to do, and I'm not sure yet how to do it, so if you're on the channel and you watch and have suggestions, is I don't want to ride the motor that heavy, you know, the 200 Merc or the 20-horse Merc. I don't want to go down the road with it on that transom because it's sitting on just that one wheel, you know, in the bottom of the boat. It's just that little thin piece of aluminum. So I'd like to come up with a way of taking the weight off the transom for road travel. And right now the solution to that problem was to put it in the back of the truck. That's actually more practical for fishing. That's a hell of a lot more fun right there. So what I want to do today is, based on what I learned, is take that motor and put it on the stand and see if I can't make it idle a little bit better. But I also want to check the lower unit, make sure the lower unit has fresh oil. It was supposed to, and I don't have any reason to believe it doesn't. But I think, you know, some of those very basic, just like we did on the Daihatsu, those very, very basic checks is something that needs to happen. And I need to get the Daihatsu off its side back on the boat because it has this tendency of having the oil from the base of the motor. You know, it has a crankcase full of oil. It kind of bleeds into things and makes it hard to start. So One of the lessons of the weekend is this motor here is very practical, and while it's not very powerful, it's very light and easy to get on and off the boat. And you know, it can't put the boat on plane, but like yesterday, it didn't really matter because it was so windy. All getting on plane did was scare the living crap out of me, as it would take that front end. I didn't want to barrel roll the boat right in front of my friends. But so really the only reason I'm firing this thing up now is I do want to flush out the fuel system, because I do expect to have oil in there. How do you beat that? As soon as I turn the ignition switch on, the first pull, it started. You know, it pumps good. Goes in and out of gear easy. Now, one of the things on outboards that's sometimes lost is its ability to idle at low RPMs is quite important. You know, especially when you're trying to come into a dock or just simply getting the outboard in and out of gear. So it's worth spending the time to make sure it, you know, it runs cleanly at those low RPMs. So anyway, it runs, right? And it idles. And it stops. And hopefully it restarts as easily as it started. Let me get the ignition key in there first. Yep, that's what I like about that motor. Alright, mission accomplished. I'm going to set that right back in the boat.